Hello and welcome. You're watching My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. It was Bangalore playing Delhi today on this Monday evening. Turned out to be some real Monday blues for Bangalore. And for Delhi, very blue. Top of the table is where they go with that win, and not just to win, a big win. Talking about big wins and talking about tables turning. Well, it's happened to me as well because I have won the My 11th Circle badge of honor. We will now cut to big applause from Michael Vaughan and Shaun Pollock. Please, you're embarrassing me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Better than your football team.
It's back. A little Liverpool punch. It's not even been 24 hours. The wounds are so fresh. Right. And Polly's just digging right into them because his team, Manchester United, did so well yesterday. Well, still did better than Bangalore today, didn't they? Because Bangalore today, well, they'll go back from this saying, no, that's not the kind of day that we want because this chase just went horribly pear-shaped for them. 137 for the loss of 9 wickets. They lost by 59 runs in Bonnie. That's, T20 cricket, that's an innings defeat. Innings and 300.
Yeah, that's an absolute hammering. You just look at the RCB team. They were in it briefly from around the 6th to about the 12th over in the field. Other than that, the power play, they got destroyed. The last 6 overs, they got destroyed. With the batting hand, just didn't really get going. The early wickets, brilliant tactics by Delhi. Bowling the left-arm spinner to Aaron Finch, spinning away from him, brilliant. Paddy Kell getting the ball spinning away, chips it to the mid-wicket boundary. Those two South African bowlers. Finally, South Africa have got a couple of good seam bowlers. Waiting for them for years and years and years. Absolutely high class. Delhi, you just look at the strength of the Delhi bench. You look at the players that aren't getting into this Delhi team. They look like, for the first time for a long, long time, they look like a team that could go all the way. I mean, it's early to say, but with Ricky in charge and the way that he's got them operating, the kind of skill levels, the thought, they look calm. Sharis Ayer, the captain, looks like he knows what he's up to. Early shout, but Delhi might be onto something this year.
Delhi might be onto something. Well, it's an early shout from you. This was my shout on the 18th of September.
Go on.
Yes, on the preview. So I'll just repeat it right now for everyone who sort of missed that. And it's there. It's in the ether. It's been etched on the marble. I called Delhi Mumbai to play the final. This was on the 18th of September, the day before the tournament began. I don't know. The bowling. Let's have a look at the bowling, and we'll get Shaun Pollock, who I thought was from South Africa, but when Michael Vaughan tells me that there hasn't been a good seam bowler from South Africa before this, I'm thinking Shaun Pollock's from somewhere else because he was pretty good.
Yeah, there's been some brilliant all-rounders come from South Africa, but
yeah,
and we've managed to get them right. But I think, I think Delhi. I mean, Delhi have tried a lot of South Africans. They've tried batsmen, all-rounders. They've tried coaches, but I think the best combination they've got is these two bowlers. And once again, KG showing his class. I think in the last IPL, if he had stuck around, you never know. It could have been a different result for Delhi, with KG having to come home a little bit early. And he's once again showing his class. They really have found a niche role for him. Andre Nokia has stepped up as well and performing brilliantly. And when you look at that attack, it just seems like it's got a bit of venom to it. It's got a bit of strike power, and it's got a bit of balance too. They can bowl with control, but they can show that aggression. And then they've got the spinners to match it up. So it's been quality, and no surprise when they get a big score on the board, invariably that kind of bowling lineup's going to be able to defend it.
Moni, look, I mean, we obviously, we wax lyrical about Rabada and Nokia, and they completely deserve it. But look at what the spinners have given them today. They've given them 8 overs for, for 44 and 3 wickets. Jeez, you take that in a one-day international.
Yeah, just look at the dots, 19 dots, 3.1 overs of dots the spinners have bowled. Just skill, bowled the right pace, found the right pace for the wicket. I go back to that decision at the toss to bowl first. Let's be honest, Virat got it wrong. It wasn't a bowl first kind of day when we see the outcome of the game with the way that the pitch played in the second part.
It just hasn't been, but yet the captains keep choosing it at the toss. It's just been win the toss, chase, lose the game, and they don't learn.
Yeah, apart from one occasion, it surprised me actually with the amount of data and information that are available for the teams that they would have chosen to do that. They chased in the last game and won. Maybe that was in the back of Virat Kohli's mind, but when you get hammered by 59 and certainly there was a little bit more purchase in the second part of the game, you have to say that was a poor decision. It's always hindsight. It's always easy to talk after the event, but the worry for me is the RCB. It looked today like a similar kind of story to what the RCB have delivered in the last few years. The bowlers look a little bit found out when someone comes hard at them, and they're so reliant on that pairing. Virat and AB, they're so reliant on that powerhouse, brilliant players that they are, but you just need a little bit more help from around them. It was a typical RCB performance, I'm afraid.
Polly, again, sorry, if you can just carry on this on captains choosing to chase and then losing the game. Why this persistence with bowling first?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's adaptability. I think, you've got to react on your toes and be quick to change mindsets in this T20 game. Whether it be a bowling change or changing the batting order, you have to be able to adapt. And it just doesn't seem that there's teams who almost have decided that the only way or strategic way of winning and playing their best is to chase. And sometimes conditions, surfaces, people you come up against dictates that you go another way and you adapt your game to make sure you can perform. And it just seems that they're caught in the same mindset the whole time of wanting to stick to that.
Well, it really was that for Bangalore today, because Bangalore's going to look at.
Yeah, I just think also the RCB, when they play at home, obviously they can decide to chase and really be effective with what they do on that small ground, and it doesn't matter what set they can get it. But as you get to the bigger grounds and becomes a little bit more challenging, the bowler's got more to work with. That's where I feel maybe they have to change their thinking and not bank on it. The experience, yes, it's in the batting department, but sometimes a big score can help the inexperienced bowlers to get over the line.
Yeah, today, of course, with Bangalore, this has just been not just them, but pretty much everyone in Dubai is just such a bat first and win kind of ground. But I'm still surprised. I want to know one thing, Wani. The next captain who wins the toss. I mean,
the next captain will win the toss and bowl and win quite comfortably.
Yeah,
cricket, it's very hard, but when you've got such a trend at one venue, which we're seeing in Dubai, it was a strange decision for the RCB team to make today. But you've got to give Delhi a huge amount of credit. They played a skillful game. They played aggressively in those first 6 overs. They knocked it around. They got that partnership built. Stoinis came out. I mentioned it in the halfway part of the game about Ricky Ponting saying something to Stoinis in the timeout. Then he started to explode into life, hitting boundaries. Delhi just look like they're moving. Whether they're peaking a little bit too soon and playing too well too soon in the competition, only time will tell. But they look at this stage that they've got pretty much everything covered.
Polly, obviously the big concern for Bangalore today was when you're chasing 196, you're not going to do it without at least 2 or 3 partnerships, and they didn't even stitch one together.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just think of the start, I mean, what Aaron Finch had 3, 4, 5 lives in the space of 4 or 5 overs.
He
got away with quite a bit. And normally when you give one of those star players one opportunity to bounce back, they tend to make you pay. So it was a little bit of a surprise. Even Abe Villiers, I think, got caught up in the emotion of trying to get off to a big start and use those first 6 overs to their advantage. And I suppose you take it for granted. You think these experienced campaigners would be able to pace it just as they should. But even them, the scoreboard pressure can talk to anyone. Doesn't matter how many games you've played. I must admit, it was a good first over from KG. And it's a couple of times now we've seen it at the Bar Stadium. With the circular stadium and everything it's sort of entrapped inside, it does create a little bit of a vacuum. And it's the only place we've seen the ball actually move around. Chahar was another example for CSK. He bowled a brilliant first over, a couple of way swingers, a couple of in swingers. So there is just that island of opportunity, the first 2 or 3 overs, where the bowlers, the quick bowlers, can actually make a play. And KG was good today. I mean, he got the ball to shape away, which he doesn't often do, even in South African conditions. So, yeah, it can be a ground where the bowlers can have a bit of an impact.
Yeah, and they have had an impact. And if you want to give them a chance of having an impact, it's probably going to be right up front of the power play, as Shaun Pollock is saying. Well, I mean, if you look at the table now, it's looking fairly interesting. It's the two teams I call Mumbai and Delhi, which are right at the top right now. But Virat Kohli at the toss, at the post-match, Michael Vaughan has said that we did not execute the last few overs as a bowling unit again. And that's been a problem for them. But today they haven't executed their batting at all.
No, they were poor. You know, Washington Sundar will probably be one of the players that can sit in the dressing room and say to himself he had a pretty good day. You know, there was just too many individual poor performances. You can't compete in T20 cricket with just one or two players arriving. You need 6, 7, 8. If you look at Delhi today, they look like a real team. You know, everything was together. They had good combinations in the bowling with the batting. Well-oiled in the field. They look like they're moving well in the field. You know, it was almost like chalk and cheese. The worry for me, the RCB, the bowling's not good enough. You know, that batting lineup is just going to get put under so much pressure because they will be chasing possibly 10% over par scores because of the bowling. And really, it just comes down to can Aaron Finch, Paddy Gale get them off to flies, and then it allows Virat and AB de Villiers a little bit of space to then come in and play. But I just don't think that bowling is going to be anywhere near good enough to compete in this year's IPL. There's too many better teams with all-round better bowlers, better variations. I think they're going to struggle, and it's just going to come down once again to that powerhouse of a batting lineup.
Ollie, can that happen to a bowling unit? You get so used to, you know, certain spell of play. Sometimes it is you get so used to leaking in the power play, or in this case, you get so used to leaking in the back four or the back five that you can't sort of mentally just get yourself out of it. You can't put your mind into four-wheel drive and get out of that slush pit.
Yeah, I think it's also role definition. I think if you look at the bowling lineup, I mean, Siraj, I thought he actually did pretty well. He came in and made a bit of a contribution.
And Siraj is also on our boost stamina meter today. It's fancy you take his name because he's just coming today, and he's been sitting on the bench for a few days. You want to come in, you will put that little extra elbow in, won't you? Bend your back a bit more.
Yeah, and try and show them that you can do a bit of a job. But if you look at them, I mean, they don't do the overs up front and the death overs regularly, whether it's for RCB, they don't do it internationally. You know, where do they gain that experience and how much can you rely on them? Whereas if you look at Nortje and Rabada, they bowl up front for South Africa, they bowl at the death for South Africa. So they continually getting this experience and knowing how to adapt and what to do. In the Delhi bowling lineup didn't even have to involve Stoinis today. You know, the conditions allowed the spinners to be brilliant in the middle. They still had that extra option. Whereas for me, the RCB have got that one gun bowler in the middle. It was just Chahal. And Washington Sundar is starting to definitely come into his role. So he's also something we can rely on. But what you're going to get the rest of the time, you know, they've lost their two big guns. Yadav and Steyn at the start of the tournament, you would have banked on them doing a massive role for RCB, but they're both sitting on the sideline and they're trying to almost increase their batting options. When Chris Morris comes back, maybe that's in a different dimension. But as Michael says, you know, you need to have guys understanding their roles and being able to execute them with a bit of confidence. And the confidence comes from doing it at different levels. And I just don't think they've got enough of that. Yeah,
so Siraj, as we wind up the boost stamina meter, we tell you that he was there today. There was Yorkers, there were bouncers, there was 6 unplayable deliveries. So he was really sort of steaming in. But that's what happens when you've been sitting on the bench. You get a chance. You obviously want to show what you're made of right there. All right. We want to show you what you're made of, or you can show us what you're made of, and then we will show you what we're made of by giving you that so you can be made of more. Do you get what I'm saying? I'll explain to you. My 11 Circle Crorepati of the week. That means you can win a crore every week on My 11 Circle. Well, Tausif Alim, congratulations. I think we all three should give a round of applause. This is a worthy. It's a worthy winner. Well done. And of course, let's pull the team up, of course, and see the team. We've got, Polly, there's no secrets here, right?
No, but he's stuck with Watson. I think that's the key. And,
do you think Tausif is Mahendra Singh Dhoni playing? Because he's the only other person who's stuck with Watson, and good on Tausif as well.
Yeah, every once in a while, the cricketing team setup, you have to stick with certain people, and hopefully it plays off. I can remember one instance, and I'll bring it up just because it was against England, actually. It's quite a nice subject. Gary Kirsten, he couldn't get a run. He absolutely could not get a run. And South Africa backed him for one more test match. In fact, if you had said to Gary, do you think you should play? He would have said no. And in the first innings, he got nothing. NASA, I think it was, made us follow on in Durban, and Gary Kirsten got 275. So eventually all the quality rises to the top, and sometimes you just got to stick with your players.
Yeah, I was playing in that game, and I always remember Phil Tufnell, he bowled something like 45 overs, no wickets. And then Mark Butcher was throwing the ball, and he ended up getting Kirsten out. I had a similar scenario captaining Andrew Strauss. Andrew Strauss wasn't taken to Sri Lanka pre-Christmas. Post-Christmas, he went to New Zealand. I demanded he was in the team because I wanted his kind of experience, his know-how. He's just a good guy to have around the group. And the first 2 test matches, no runs. Got to the third game. The selectors wanted him out. They wanted to play O.A. Shah. And I put my neck on the line and said, if that's the case, I don't play. So Straussy has to play this last test. It was 1-1. First innings in Napier. I'd had a row with one of the selectors. I was in a bad mood. I played the worst shot of my test career. Tried to pull a Tim Southey half volley. Southey was on debut. I tried to pull a half volley into the stands, got bowled. The first morning of the test match, Straussy went out there. He was out there for about 5 minutes. He snuck off as well. And in the second innings, we were up against it. And Straussy went out there. Looked like he was batting with a toothpick for the first half an hour. Somehow, he managed to get 150. No idea how. And that kind of saved his test career. And I always kind of speak to him when we have a private beer every now and again to realise if he'd have snuck off, I think he was dropped twice inside getting to 10. I don't think he'd have played for England again. He got that close to Straussy being moved out of the setup that he. So when he went on to win the Ashes as the captain, I always kind of remind him that it was because I fought tooth and nail to keep him in the side. I got him that last opportunity.
Well, and Tausif has done that with Shane Watson in his side, which is why he's in our Hall of Fame. So let's pull that up on the screen and show you. We've got Darshan Bisht, Virendra Negi, and now Tausif Alim. He's our Week 3 winner in the My 11 Circle Hall of Fame, our Crorepati now. So well done, Tausif. And there's a lesson. You can hear it from the captain, the former captain of England, is saying, you got to stick with your peeps, man. You got to stick with your peeps. Yeah. So
just stick with your friends.
Just stick. That's good as well. I like it. Which is how we are here in Cricbuzz. Stick with our friends. Stick with our friends. Even though they support different football clubs, we stick with our friends. Let's have a look at the points table one more time on this Monday evening as we see a little movement right there on top. And what has happened, Polly, is that not only have Delhi got this win, this big win has been a good boost to their net run rate. Remember, at the end, you're fighting for 1 and 2. You want 1 and 2 more than you want 3 and 4. I know we're looking 9 games down, but still, these things all come into play.
Yeah, they do. They definitely play a part. And as a team, you sort of look at that and you say, okay, we've got 4 wins. How many more do we need to make sure that we're already qualified? And the battle seems so much easier. You know, you've only probably got to win maybe another 3, and you're probably into the playoff section, and you're in a strong position with a net run rate, which can often count for an extra point. So, you know, you do follow the table, especially when you're on the top, and it gives you a little confidence boost, and you know that you just have to keep producing a couple more times, and you're where you want to be at the back end of the tournament.
Yeah, because last year, we had teams that were tied, and it was net run rate that meant, Kolkata missed out and did not qualify. And if you look at that table once again, Vaughnie, I'll have you look at Bangalore. They've got the worst net run rate now in the entire tournament. So they are at number 3, but that is an area of concern.
Yeah, and they've played 5 as of Mumbai and Delhi. You're looking at Rajasthan and Kalkura only have played 4. So that's why tomorrow's game is a big one for Rajasthan against Mumbai. Look, the RCB generally are in this position after 5 games. They're usually a bit further down. So they can take a positive leaf that they've won a few games already. Didn't play well tonight, but I guess that's what Virat will be saying to his team tonight. Look, we're 3rd in the rankings. We're in a half-decent position. Can we improve our batting, bowling, fielding? Absolutely. So I can't see them playing as badly as we saw them play this evening. I think most teams have a night where it just doesn't go their way and they play poorly. Rajasthan had one of those just a couple of nights ago. Many of the teams seem to have such a long tournament. You can't really be always at the peak of your performance. So the RCB have somehow got to kind of just brush tonight aside and try and get a few of the combinations working better and come back stronger in the next game.
Well, they definitely will do better in the next game. But one thing that will not do better in the next game, guaranteed, because it's not been doing good so far in the 19 games. And I think Paulie and I will leave when I say this to Michael Vaughan, the slow over rates. Sure. We'll leave it with you, Vaughan, now, and we'll just come back,
The IPL for me is the best T20 tournament in the world. You know, it has the best players, it has the best coaches, it's razzmatazz, it's drama, it's got pretty much everything, but the over rates are appalling. T20 cricket was brought in a shorter window, great for kids to kind of watch and get excited by it. They do get excited by the IPL, but when you're looking at an hour and 48 minutes to bowl 20 overs, I'm sorry, that's too long.
Yeah.
I understand timeout, sponsorships, completely get the financial side of it, but I just think we can squeeze it by 10 or 15 minutes. About an hour and 35 is about right. You know, yeah. I understand that an hour and 20 when it first started, that was the time, but there was no VAR, there was no reviews, there was VAR. I'm gone to football again. There was no reviews. Obviously, there wasn't as many sponsors as there are now. So I get that you had a little bit of time on for those, but an hour and 48 minutes for 20 overs, it's far too long.
Yeah, it is.
We need to introduce a bonus point system. If you bowl 20 overs in under an hour and 40 or under an hour and 35 minutes, you can get a bonus point.
I like that.
That's interesting.
Like that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
You watch the season, they need 1 point to get over the line. We finished.
Chennai will just want Ravindra Jadeja to bowl 8. Delhi will want, that's 8 minutes. And then
even tonight we did see, so when Akshar Patel and Ashwin were operating together for a little period of time, those 3 overs, I mean, we're aware of it because we have to come back for the combox or whatever. All of a sudden, 3 overs fly by.
Yeah.
And I think there is a lot of faffing around with regards, not talking about Faf du Plessis, but faffing around with regards to helmets coming on and off. I mean, guys, when they face spinners, they have to have their helmet off. And then the guys got to run on, and then invariably they have a drink, and then there's a message. I agree. There's just too much of it going on. And I think what's happened is they've been a bit lenient because of the heat in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. But I think at this stage, I think players are taking advantage. I mean, that 1 over of Dhoni's, I know he wasn't feeling well, but that probably took about almost 10 to 15 minutes just to bowl 6 balls.
Yeah, and you're saying 148 today. I feel like 148 is one of the quicker ones. I know for a fact that some have gone up to 155, almost 2 hours, some innings as well. So I think tomorrow what we'll do is we'll pull out some of these stats of, the first innings and see how long the over rates have been. Not Sharjah, because you do, there's like 36 lost balls. Yeah, there's 36 lost balls. You got to get the box in, choose again. That takes a long. But we'll look at Dubai and Abu Dhabi and definitely see what's happening, because the games have been pulled up half an hour. Doesn't mean that the closing time has to remain the same. That's what.
There are times and there are exceptions where it goes on. That's the nature of cricket. There are some stopping. Sharjah, as you say, you're looking for balls every 2 minutes, but the principle of the actual 20-over game must be to be squeezed in to make it a quicker process. We've got 50-over cricket for 3.5 hours. We've got Test match cricket 5 days. T20 was brought in for this short window, loads of excitement, get around. And also the players, as Polly said, that they are taking a little bit of advantage. They're kind of just drooping around. They all know where they need to be. They all know the matchups. They know the old field positions. There's not a lot that should be surprising a player out in the middle these days. Get on with it. That's what I say.
And I think that it really is prevalent when you have the double headers. When games barely finish before the next one starts, that just shows you how much time is being.
And that's 4 hours. That's 4 hours, and you have one going into the other. Nope. They're meant to be 3-hour games, man. I mean, really. Well, in other news, we know that Amit Mishra for Delhi and Bhuvneshwar Kumar for Hyderabad will both not be taking any further part in this tournament because of injury. And Paulie, well, I think both those bowling units. I mean, today you saw Akshar and Ashwin, and yes, of course, you miss quality like Mishra, but you got Ashwin, great experience. You got Akshar, but Hyderabad will perhaps miss Bhuvi more.
Yeah, I think they're a big blow, and that goes on the back of Mitchell Marsh, who had to be eliminated from the tournament early. So to lose 2 big players and the way they've played so far in the tournament, I think it's a major blow for them. And be seriously doubting their ability with what the other rest of the bowling attacks have been for them, whether they can bounce back.
And Bhuvi, it's been just terrible. Like, we show you a bit of a timeline of what he's sort of gone through in the last perhaps 2.5 years. You know, there's back injury, lower back injury. Fine, we understand hammy, but there was a sports hernia. Now the hip is injured. Well, Polly's having a tough time. I mean, for quick bowlers, even for quick bowlers, that's a lot to come back from, isn't it?
Yeah, and the other example is Mitchell Marsh. I mean, he's had so many injuries as well. So it is unfortunate, you know, in your careers, you do tend to get in a bit of a roll. You build up a bit of momentum. You start to feel good about it. And if you keep having to go back and reboot to get your body back in condition to be able to play, it can be very frustrating, and it can knock your confidence a bit, because it doesn't matter who you are. You sit on the side for 4 or 5 months, you start to doubt whether you've got that ability to get out there and do it just as well as you used to. So it is a tough time for him, and we hope that once he sorts this one out, that he'll be back for a much more sustained period.
Bonnie, the Hyderabad camp will definitely be thinking about this and going, damn, it's not good.
Yeah, well, he's been such a star player for them for many years. You know, he's just got to make sure that he takes this time out to get himself right. You know, there's lots of cricket coming up after Christmas. You know, there's obviously Australia that India will be going to. Looks like that he'll miss that. But then there's an IPL which will start in a few months' time. It'll be a short window from one IPL to the next. So he's just got to make sure. I mean, it's just unfortunate. Once you start picking up injuries, they just do seem to come on a roll. He's somehow just got to get the body right, get himself a bit stronger, come back and hope that he has that little bit of lady luck and he can stay on the park for that little bit longer going forward to next year and next year's IPL.
Bhuvi is sheer class, and not just physically, but mentally. You're sitting outside and you're seeing all these young quicks that India is making, and you're going, well, you know, fast bowlers have that much of a shelf life, that kind of a window, and suddenly you see people sort of squeezing past you and going ahead of you. So, yeah, but he's class, and I'm sure Hyderabad will definitely miss him, his leadership of the bowling unit. Let's have a look at the game that's coming up on the Tuesday. On a Tuesday, there's one game to choose. It's Mumbai v Rajasthan. This is happening in Abu Dhabi. You've got guys near the top of the table, guys near the bottom of the table. This one's a must-win for Rajasthan, but they're up against giants, defending champions.
Yeah, they are. When you look at that Mumbai side, you've got some serious firepower at the top, and then you've Pollard and the two Pandya brothers. You've got some hitability at the back end as well. So from a batting side, they really do have a strong unit. And then bowling-wise, they've formed a good combination. You've got experience of 3 international bowlers, seamers, and then Chahar's done brilliantly in the spinning department. So it is a really strong team. And when you compare that to Rajasthan, you do feel that they have to keep playing the ultimate games. They're going to be so keen to get Ben Stokes back into the mix. I mean, the balance he brings with bat and ball is definitely something they've been missing in that unit. Yeah. So for them to win tomorrow, you do feel that they have to really produce the perfect kind of game for them, where they get off to a great start and someone makes a good contribution and the bowlers back them up. Yeah. Whereas Mumbai, you feel like you can call on 5, 6, 7 guys that could maybe have a man of the match performance to help them get over the line.
Yeah, Mumbai, of course, you'd back them for going in with no changes. Perhaps sometimes they make one change here or there, but that's the sign of a strong winning team, Bonnie, is that you rarely ever see them making 3 changes.
No, they stay very consistent. They're always very true to the players that they've picked. But they're a quality unit. They know how to win the tournament. They've got good leadership, great skills. They've got power in the bowling, batting, feel well as a team. When you look at Rajasthan, if Rajasthan can beat Mumbai tomorrow, they'll match them on points with the game in hand, and that's with Ben Stokes still to come back into the side. So, yes, you could say it's a must-win for Rajasthan, but you could also say it's a must-win for Mumbai as well, because all the teams will know about what Ben Stokes is going to deliver for the Rajasthan Royals once he gets into the side. He will deliver man of the match kind of performances. That's what he has done for 2 or 3 years in whichever team he's played in. So Rajasthan, they're a kind of team that they don't look on paper. I mean, they've got some high-class players, but they don't look to me like they've got enough to go all the way. But if they can get Ben Stokes into this side, it's just the spin department just looks a little bit light. And when the pitches get a little bit older and a little bit more worn, I do worry about their bowling going forward. You know, it's always the combinations. They've struggled for the last 2 or 3 years finding where to bat which players. I mean, Butler's at the top of the order. He's done well for England at the top of the order. He's not fired at all for Rajasthan this year. Been a bit inconsistent. Where do you put Ben Stokes in that lineup when he plays? I think they're one of the two, a bit like RCB. They've not quite found their combinations over the course of the last few years.
Yeah. Polly, are you happy with the Smith and Butler opening combination? Would you like to see Smith sort of, be the linchpin in the middle order to sort of hold things together?
Not really. I think the Ben Stokes influence we talk about, I mean, we know what contributions he can make as an individual, but I think just mentally, once you know he's to come in the middle order, I think that almost frees your Butler and your Steve Smith up to not worry and they go and play some, carefree cricket in many ways. Robin Uthappa needs to get some runs in that order just to settle things down as well. But Sampson's been brilliant. So I don't think they need to change. But I do think, it's a gun player, Ben Stokes. And when he walks into the dressing room, when he walks into that team, he's got a presence about him and it brings a lot of calmness to the rest of the unit. And they can just focus on their job because they know that at the back end they've got a match winner.
Yeah, I mean, they'd want what Rajasthan would want, that he has more of a Pune kind of season, Ben Stokes, than the Rajasthan season that he had, because that season with Pune, he was just absolutely on fire. But Tom Curran, Bonnie, I think Steve Smith and Rajasthan are wanting a little more out of him as well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he struck the ball nicely with the bat. He's not quite been at his best with the ball, but he's a good character. He likes the confrontation out in the middle. He always, very similar to a lot of the quality bowlers, bowls the tough overs. He'll bowl in the power play and he'll bowl at the end. So he will have days where it doesn't quite go his way, but he'll also have days where he wins, the game for the team, and that's what he's about. I've been impressed with the way that he struck the ball. As I've been very impressed with Archie. He's been hitting the ball over there. I've not seen him do that for England on many occasions. So it's actually good for us to see a different side of Jofra. He's bowling quickly. He's striking it out the ground. This T20 format, he absolutely adores. He absolutely adores playing the shorter format. And you can see that he's enjoying his cricket at Rajasthan. But it's a big game tomorrow. It's a big game for both teams. And you need your big players to turn up and produce a performance.
And you'll have us to come here and to turn up a performance as well. We will come at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. 3 of us are going to be here again tomorrow because, all our football banter's not done as yet. So I'm sure we'll have a few pokes and prods about Manchester United and Liverpool. And hopefully they'll just go down a little easier because time heals all wounds.
We'll also do some research on Sheffield Wednesday and find out what sledges we can manage to get.
I actually don't think the Indian audience know who Sheffield Wednesday are.
Sheffield Wednesday. I do remember Sheffield, less for Sheffield Wednesday, but more for Def Leppard, because Def Leppard came from Sheffield, didn't they?
Yes, they did,
Yeah.
Oh, good knowledge.
I know a little bit about a lot of things, Polly, as you learned. Just a little bit of a lot of things. But it's not a little bit that gets you to answer the joy factor question. You've got to know a lot about a lot to answer that. We'll tell you what the question is. It was Colin Cowdrey 54, Tiger Patowdy 63, Vic Marks 76. Who was it in 1974? It's not a geometric progression. It's not an arithmetic progression. I don't know what it is. I don't know what joy pulls out from where. We'll just sort of cut everyone's misery and just show you. It's Imran Khan, captains of the Oxford University cricket team. And it's his birthday today. The Blues, right? The Oxford Blues.
Yes. I didn't quite make Oxford or Cambridge.
Which one was Ath from?
He was Oxford, I think. I think Atherton was Oxford University. I may be wrong, but he was certainly one of the two. There's been some high quality. Nasser Hussain, no, he was Durham. He was Durham University.
Michael Vaughan is, of course, from the School of Hard Knocks, the University of Life. That's where he's from. That's where he's learned his lessons on the street. And that's how you battle in T20 cricket. You got to have the street smarts. I have no idea why I'm working myself into a frenzy at midnight, because I won't get to bed for another 3 hours. You've got one person who did get that right, who got the answer, Imran Khan. It was, well, what do you know? Surprise, surprise. It's all Crick Rohit again. Well, there you go. What is it? I'm convinced that Crick Rohit and Joy Bhattacharya are the same guy. It's like no one has ever seen Nicholas Puran and Superman in the same room when he took that thing at the boundary. So I think nobody's seen Joy and Crick Rohit in the same room as well. But anyway, you're not going to see us in this room because we're out of here. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Of course, looking at the Mumbai and Rajasthan game. A big thank you to Michael Vaughan in the UK. Thank you, Michael.
See you guys.
And a big thank you to Shaun Pollock in South Africa. Thank you, Polly.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Gaurav Kapur. You were watching My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. So for now, good night.